The boy held the tarot card in his hand. Then he put the card on the table. Suddenly, a sword fell from the ceiling. The boy looked up in panic and found it was full of swords. Beside him, the hourglass was counting down. If the cards could not be arranged correctly, the swords would fall. The boy anxiously put down the second card, but the position was still wrong. The girl opposite saw this and picked up the deck of cards and put them down one by one, but the result was not any better. When all the cards were placed in the wrong position, the ceiling full of swords began to slowly fall. This was one of the challenges to become a true witch. Agatha was originally a witch, but her powers had been sealed. Could she successfully pass the challenge to restore her powers? Not long ago, Agatha had her powers sealed by a powerful witch named Wanda, making her think she was just an ordinary policewoman. Once, Agatha discovered the body of an unidentified woman by the stream. Judging from the features, such as blackened feet and fingers, this person was Wanda. However, Agatha had no memory of it. She only felt an indescribable feeling of discomfort when she saw this body. The cause of death was determined to be a heavy object hitting the body. This corresponded to the event of Wanda destroying the Dark Temple and leaving this world by herself. At this time, Agatha found a badge in a puddle of water. This gave her a sense of unease. When asked by her colleagues, Agatha quietly hid the badge. Agatha followed the clue and went to the bookstore, but the store clerk said that the book she wanted to buy had been stolen 3 years ago, and the book she was looking for was the Book of Darkness. Wanda's image could also be seen on the burn marks. Then, Agatha returned to the police station. A sergeant introduced her to a new colleague, but Agatha seemed to know this person. The two of them even had a rather lively conversation. After parting ways happily, Agatha went to the pawn shop alone. She found out that the badge was very ancient. The 3 goddess statues on the badge represented the 3 corresponding stages of women. In the comic Mechnitochio, these 3 stages of Wanda also appeared. There was actually a bunch of hair inside the badge. Agatha felt strangely uncomfortable after seeing it. At night, Agatha suddenly discovered that the name of the stolen book was written in abbreviations. When she finished the name of the Book of Darkness, a police officer asked her to rest. Agatha reluctantly returned home. The house was deserted, with a few children's drawings on the table and a music award from a man named Nicholas. This showed that Agatha had a child. At this time, a new female colleague, Vidal, came to look for Agatha. Although Agatha did not like Vidal, they were still old acquaintances. Vidal even brought food. During dinner, Vidal repeatedly provoked Agatha, but whenever Agatha started to waver, Vidal would change the subject. At this moment, there was a sudden noise on the second floor. Agatha went up to check and found that it was a thief. He quickly ran away when he saw her. However, Agatha still stubbornly chased after him. In the end, the thief was hit by an oncoming car and fell onto the street. Immediately after, Agatha took the thief into the interrogation room. No matter what she said, he remained silent. When Agatha was about to link him to the murder this morning, something unexpected happened. The photos that were supposed to be of the body turned into pictures of gardens. At the same time, the doll outside also disappeared, and the wall was supposed to be a glass wall. Somehow, it turned into a normal wall with a painting on it. The thief in front of Agatha started chanting a spell that she couldn't understand. Agatha thought it was strange, so she handcuffed the thief first. Then she drove to the morgue to check. However, not only was there no one there wasn't even a corpse. Agatha quickly imagined the shape of the corpse in her mind. When she opened her eyes again, it really appeared on the table. When she picked up the paper from the corpse, Wanda's name appeared on it. While Agatha was being surprised, Vidal appeared again. This time, Vidal said that Agatha was trapped in Wanda's magic. Wanda had also destroyed all copies of the Book of Shadows. With Vidal's words, Agatha began to feel hot inside. Agatha's memories were gradually restored, just as Vidal wanted. After a while, Agatha's appearance changed to the point that she couldn't believe her eyes. Not only that, she kept changing her appearance. Finally, under Vidal's guidance, when Agatha looked at the paper on the corpse, she knew her real name. After taking off the last piece of clothing, she woke up from the spell. The first thing she did when she woke up was release her anger. After knowing that she had been trapped in this town for 3 years, she became even angrier. Although she remembered everything, Agatha lost her magic. At this time, she heard a noise in the room. It turned out that the thief, while she was trapped in the spell, was locked here. In reality, Agatha was clearly quite rude to the thief. Immediately after, the door to Agatha's house exploded. The person who came was none other than Vidal in her real appearance. As soon as they met, she pulled out her dagger and rushed to attack Agatha. Although Agatha wanted to resist, she no longer had the strength. Just like that, she was at a disadvantage. Just when Agatha was about to lose, she suddenly surrendered. She wanted to beg Vidal to give her a chance to regain her power, and then the two of them would fight fairly. Unexpectedly, Vidal actually agreed. However, Vidal also said that not only did she want to kill Agatha, but there were also 7 most feared witches in Salem. Tonight, they would come to find and kill Agatha. Before leaving, Vidal even helped Agatha heal her wounds. Knowing that being hunted, Agatha quickly packed her things and prepared to run away. However, the thief made an effort to break the tape. It turned out that he also wanted Agatha to help him enter the path of witchcraft. Agatha was surprised because he knew about this theory. Although Agatha wanted to refuse, the thief said that he had helped her release her magic. Moreover, the path of witchcraft could help them fulfill all her wishes. Agatha thought for a moment and then refused. first. But when she looked at the badge again and thought about how difficult it was to deal with the 7 Salem witches, she agreed to this request. When she asked the thief's name, there seemed to be some kind of magic that was deliberately concealing the information. This made it impossible for Agatha to hear his name. At this time, she also realized that the thief's identity was not simple. Just like that, the two of them set off. When they passed Wanda's house, Agatha spat, showing her disgust. The reason she was looking for other witches was because only with the participation of a witch coven could the door to the witch path be opened. On the way, the thief's boyfriend also called. However, he didn't want to interrupt the conversation, so he hung up. In fact, this thief's name was Billy. The soul of Wanda's son had entered this body. For the past 3 years, Billy had been investigating Agatha's path to becoming a witch. Most likely, Billy just wanted to revive his mother Wanda. Very quickly, they found the first witch they were looking for. This person was Lilia, with the ability of prophecy. Therefore, Lilia easily saw through Agatha's purpose in coming here. Although she was rejected, Agatha did not give up. She took out Lilia's expulsion notice at the door. Obviously, Lilia had no better choice than to go with them. So Lilia used her prophetic power to see who the second witch accompanying Agatha was. Lilia also did not expect that the first person was her, so she did not hide anymore. After having a good start, they continued to look for the next person. At this time, Agatha suddenly discovered a crow staring at her. That was exactly one of the 7 symbols of the Salem witches. The next member was the potion master Jennifer. However, Jennifer and Agatha had had conflicts before. Agatha cursed Jennifer in the past and disabled her ability to use magic. Currently, Jennifer can only rely on selling perfume to make a living. Therefore, when faced with Agatha's invitation, Jennifer immediately refused without thinking. Seeing this, Agatha immediately exposed the scandal about Jennifer. It turned out that the products Jennifer produced during this trip had caused more than 300 people to be burned. Currently, Jennifer is facing huge losses and the risk of going to jail. They used this as a threat to convince Jennifer. When Billy asked who the other 2 were, Agatha hid the list by swallowing the paper. While eating, Agatha encountered the watchful eyes of one of the 7 witches of Salem. This made her panic. After that, the two went to a shopping mall. The person Agatha wanted to find was named Alice. It can be said that Alice was a natural-born witch. Alice's mother was a powerful witch, but disappeared after entering the path of witchcraft. At this time, Agatha and Billy made a plan to make Alice fired. Then, they talked about Alice's mother to invite her to join the group. Although Alice did not agree at the moment, Agatha did not mind this. Returning home, Agatha changed her clothes and went out, but she immediately discovered another gaze from the 7 Salem witches. Not long after, the 3 members of the witches' coven were also present, but they were still wondering where the Green Witch was, because the Green Witch had the most important set of skills to enter the path of witchcraft. While Agatha was still speaking, Lilia revealed that the last person had a black heart symbol. Agatha could not sit still either. She could only trick her neighbor Hart into coming with her. But Hart clearly did not know what was going on. She just thought that the neighbor had invited her to a family gathering. During the ceremony, Agatha asked Billy not to disturb them. When Billy saw Agatha's rabbit, he held it in his arms familiarly, even calling it an old friend. The way to summon the witch path is to need a song from everyone. When the bell rang, everyone started singing. At the same time, the 7 Salem witches also arrived outside. The neighbor and Billy were very surprised to see this scene. When the ceremony ended, Agatha was a bit disappointed when she saw nothing happening, so she started another plan by deliberately provoking everyone to be angry, even luring them to attack her to absorb their magic. But Lilia saw through Agatha's plot. While everyone was arguing, they suddenly discovered a portal appeared right under their feet. It seemed that the ceremony was successful. At this moment, Billy ran in panic and went straight down. Just like that, everyone went down one by one. After the Agatha entered, the door disappeared. In front of them now was a mysterious path. Obviously, this was the witch path that everyone had been longing for. Everyone took off their shoes and officially began this journey. Everyone, except Agatha, felt inexplicably uneasy. But then Hart broke the mysterious atmosphere in the forest. As a normal person, she knew nothing about the witch's path. Hart just thought she was kidnapped by Agatha and the others. But when she tried to call the police, her phone went dead. At this time, everyone also realized that the 7 Salem witches were paying attention to Agatha. Therefore, they all treated this matter as if it had nothing to do with them. Despite Billy's call to unite, it was useless. This showed that witches were all selfish, and this was especially obvious to Agatha. At this time, Lilia predicted that the witch's path would use everyone's worst nightmare. Agatha also explained that the path would test them, specifically their magical knowledge. Each test would give them a skill. Only after overcoming everything can their wish come true. The explanation made everyone angry immediately, because now they are replacing the Green Witch with a normal person, Hart. Agatha is also losing her power, so they might not have a way to overcome the trials. While everyone was discussing this, Hart disappeared. It turned out that she was resting on a rock by the side of the road, but soon it turned into a swamp that wanted to drag her down. Fortunately, everyone appeared in time and pulled Hart out of there. After this incident, Agatha talked about the first rule of not leaving the road. At this time, Jennifer saw a strange scene behind. It was a scene filled with sunlight. Everyone quickly understood that this this was the first test. There was a relief sculpture of the moon on the door of the building. The relief on the door also suggests that this test is not an easy one. As people enter the building, their appearance changes. This is also one of the characteristics of the wizarding path. The challenger will be given clothes that match the style of a dead person. Everyone realized that they couldn't leave the house. At this time, Billy found a card with a riddle written on it on the fireplace. Just when everyone was full of questions, Hart turned around and saw red wine on the table. They immediately guessed that the answer was wine, so they chose to enjoy it first, but Billy wouldn't be able to drink because he wasn't old enough. While everyone was hesitating, Hart was the first to drink. But suddenly, the countdown suddenly sounded. Everyone quickly drank the remaining wine to see what would happen next. But Agatha didn't drink it, but poured the wine into the flower pot. As a result, the wine just now appeared in the glass again. Not long after, the faces of the people who drank the wine suddenly changed. Not only that, their heart rates also increased. Fortunately, the swelling on their faces quickly subsided. Everyone immediately guessed that the wine was poisonous. According to the symptoms just now, Jennifer immediately analyzed that it was the poison of the revenge herring. In addition to a series of symptoms that will occur, the most serious is death. At this time, everyone discovered that Agatha had not drunk the wine, so they asked her to do the challenge immediately. She did not want to drink the poisoned wine, so she frantically broke the window, but it did not work. Seeing this, Billy said that he could drink it instead of Agatha. Of course, she could not do that, so she accepted the challenge. At this time, Hart began to say words begging Wanda to stop and fainted. Obviously, the hallucination that Hart saw was Wanda. In order to decode before the countdown ended, Jennifer instructed everyone to collect the ingredients to make the antidote. During that process, everyone faced their own nightmares. Alice saw her missing mother preparing to leave this world in front of her, and Jennifer saw a man trying to drown her. Lilia saw a girl dressed in ancient clothes leading to a strange room. Inside the room was a witch with a Grim Reaper standing behind her, but not long after, everyone woke up from their nightmare. At this time, everyone discovered that the house had sunk to the bottom of the sea. Seawater kept seeping through the cracks in the glass that Agatha had broken earlier. When everyone saw that something was wrong, they immediately sped up the process. Under Jennifer's guidance, they quickly prepared the antidote. Agatha was the last one to drink, so now she had to face her nightmare. She heard the cry of a baby in a cradle, but unexpectedly, inside was the Book of Darkness. However, she was quickly brought back to reality by everyone's screams. Agatha quickly cooperated with everyone to continue completing the preparation. However, Jennifer realized that they were lacking some ingredients. With Agatha's encouragement and motivation, Jennifer finally knew what to do. It was fresh human blood, so Agatha did not hesitate to cut off Billy's hand to get the blood. Finally, the antidote was successfully created. After drinking the antidote, everyone finally regained their mobility. Just in time, the countdown ended. The oven door opened. At this time, the window was completely shattered, causing water to rush in. The group quickly left, but did not forget to bring the unconscious Hart along. At the moment the water flooded the room, everyone finally escaped, but Hart could not be saved anymore. When everyone found her, she had already become a corpse. After burying Hart, everyone felt the danger on the witch's path. Now, they were short of manpower, so they did not have the courage to continue moving forward. For this reason, they decided to use magic to summon the Green Witch. But when they finished the ceremony, a hand reached out from Hart's grave. The scene in front of them made everyone panic, because the other party was like a zombie. But as soon as that person appeared, it was Vidal. Seeing her appear here, Agatha was very angry, wanting to rush in and fight immediately. Because everyone stopped her, Agatha angrily left. At this time, everyone was also quite curious about the relationship between Vidal and Agatha. In addition, Vidal did not look very normal, so the remaining three people were more vigilant. Not long after, another wooden house appeared in front of everyone. Having just experienced a desperate situation, Alice immediately wanted to escape from here. But when they looked back, they realized that no matter which way they went, it would still lead to that house. This was clearly the second trial of the witch's path. This time, the image displayed on the door was a red crescent moon. The corresponding person in the group was Alice. Entering the house, everyone was dressed in an artistic style. Because of their previous experience, they immediately searched for clues. At this time, Vidal tried to approach Agatha. This expression showed that the two of them had some kind of secret. Everyone saw many strange decorations in the room. One of the photos was of Alice's mother. According to Lilia, Alice knew that her mother was a famous stone witch. On the other side, Agatha and Vidal went to a recording studio. Because this room was soundproof, Vidal also expressed his thoughts. It turned out that Vidal had always wanted to attack other witches, but Agatha said that it was not the right time yet. She needed this group of witches to help her complete her journey to regain her magic. Vidal hoped that after Agatha regained her power, she would destroy these witches. Agatha quickly denied it and quietly turned on the microphone. Of course, she intentionally let everyone hear what Vidal had just said. Just as everyone was waiting for an explanation, a voice rang out. It turned out that Billy accidentally played a recording. Seeing this, Agatha angrily destroyed the machine. But at this time, everything was too late. Lilia said that they were cursed. As soon as she finished speaking, the clock in the room rang immediately. Unlike the others who were worried and and scared, Vidal was quite excited. This made the others even more worried. While everyone was discussing the abnormality, Lilia suddenly screamed and fell down. There was a green smoke rising from her body, as if it was on fire. Alice immediately took out a dagger and drew a circle around her. As soon as it was completed, Lilia was no longer in pain. At this moment, everyone immediately realized the seriousness. But if they wanted to end the curse, they had to face it first. Immediately after that, Jennifer also screamed in pain. Just like that, Alice completed another circle around her. But after that pain, a scar appeared on Jennifer's shoulder. Of course, Lilia also had a similar scar. At this time, there were more strange sounds in the room. Alice seemed to realize something and tried to put together the label of the record. At this time, she discovered that it was the song her mother had performed. Then, Alice also showed everyone the similar scar on her shoulder. It turned out that Alice's family had been cursed for generations. Both her grandmother and mother died because of this curse. During the discussion, Billy was suddenly attacked and thrown straight into the studio. At this time, Alice seemed to have thought of a way to break the curse. However, she was very hesitant to tell everyone. At this time, Agatha also expressed her opinion. It turned out that all the signs pointed to the fact that if they wanted to break the curse, they had to sing. That was to perform Alice's mother's song again. After finding a way to solve the problem, everyone began to perform their tasks. Each person picked up an instrument and began to become a real artist. As everyone was singing, Alice finally saw the true form of the curse. It was a red flying demon. Wherever it went, it burned. But seeing the monster in front of her, Alice was no longer confused. Finally, everyone was immersed in the music, causing the curse to be broken quickly. Then under the piano, an exit opened, but at this time, Billy had fallen to the floor. It turned out that the broken glass had pierced his side. Everyone quickly brought Billy back to the path of witchcraft. Agatha was the most worried and asked everyone to think of a solution. Fortunately, Jennifer had prepared a healing potion on the spot. Thanks to that, Billy's wound was successfully treated. After this ordeal, the bond between the remaining 3 witches deepened. When Billy woke up, he saw Agatha's concern for him, but when she was discovered, she pretended to be cold. Suddenly, Billy asked Agatha what happened to her son. This question made Agatha's expression change immediately. Back at the campfire, Agatha also revealed a scar from a past enemy, but when it was Vidal's turn, she said that she had loved a woman. That person had hurt Vidal deeply. That person's existence was Vidal's pain. When Vidal said this, her eyes were always on Agatha. It was clear that Agatha was the owner of the story just now. When everyone was resting, some animals appeared on the witch's path. It turned out that the 7 Salem witches had hunted Agatha all the way here. Not far away, Lilia sensed this group of 7 people. She immediately woke up and warned everyone. At the same time, she also told about the origin of the 7 Salem witches. It turned out that they were descendants of the Covenant that Agatha had killed. Although Agatha let them go, they still wanted to take revenge on their ancestors. At this time, Agatha also called for everyone to quickly set off, but soon after, they were still surrounded by the 7 Salem witches. Billy suggested that they use brooms to escape the siege. They had broken off roots from the trees on the side of the road to make brooms, but before that, they needed to go through some procedures to complete it. They worked in pairs, chanted spells, and walked around. Then, they exchanged brooms, symbolizing the witches' altruism. But just as Billy and Alice were about to perform the ritual, a Salem witch attacked Billy. Thanks to Alice's timely action, they were able to rescue Billy. After that, the procedure was completed, and everyone immediately took off into the air. It had been a long time since Agatha had felt this familiar feeling, but the fun didn't last long. The witch path forced them to go down. Just like that, everyone was forced to move close to the ground. Facing a Salem witch blocking the way, the group rushed straight past the other person. At that moment, a house appeared, and they didn't hesitate to rush inside. Immediately, everyone changed their appearance. It seemed that this time, the challenge was pointing directly at Agatha. This was the time when the boundary between life and death was at its weakest, and this time, the challenge prop appeared directly without having to search anymore. It was a Western-style Ouija board. Immediately, the countdown also started on each person's watch. The first rule was not to use the Ouija board alone. The second was not to interrupt each other. The third was not to mock or anger the ghost. The fourth was not to ask about death. The fifth was to always end with a goodbye. The sixth was to never take your hand off the Ouija board no matter what, or the ghost would escape. It didn't take long for the group to start. As they read the questions, the cursor started to move. After putting the letters together, they learned that the ghost talking was heart. But suddenly, the cursor moved so suddenly that Lilia couldn't keep up. Immediately after, Agatha's body began to convulse. Next, her attitude, demeanor, and tone of voice changed to match Hart's. Then she began to spout out various nonsense. It didn't take long for everyone to realize that all of this was just Agatha's trick. It turned out that Agatha was really afraid of the ghost appearing. Having been guessed, Agatha could only start over. Immediately after, the lights in the room immediately flickered. Everyone also realized that this time it seemed to be real. Agatha's first question was who this ghost was. Seeing that the answer was death, Vidal immediately laughed out loud, because in fact, she was the incarnation of Grim Reaper. Then, Agatha asked the ghost what its purpose was. The Ouija board had given Agatha the punishment of moving continuously. Therefore, she was the first to let go in fear. Then, there were pitiful screams all around around, causing the room to become chaotic. It was only when Jennifer repeated the words, "Punish Agatha," that everything stopped. Perhaps to pass this challenge, one must do as requested. So Jennifer began to criticize Agatha for all her evil deeds. Apart from Billy, the others followed suit. But in the blink of an eye, Agatha disappeared and the building lights went out. Everyone thought it was Agatha's trick. But at this moment, Billy discovered Agatha hanging on the roof with a fierce expression. Her appearance shocked everyone. At this time, Jennifer still thought it was Agatha's trick again. But when they saw Agatha's body twisted abnormally, they realized that Agatha was really possessed. Jennifer was quickly strangled the neck and lifted up. At the crucial moment, Lilia turned the house lights back on, forcing Agatha to flee into the darkness. At this moment, a spirit flew down the stairs. It turned out that the ghost was Agatha's mother. The mother's spirit had been waiting for an opportunity to kill Agatha. Because the mother was also a member of the Salem group, Agatha was now tiredly leaning out from the second floor and trying to reconcile with her mother. Of course, her intention was rejected. At this time, the mother also said that if they wanted to go to the end of the road, everyone would not be able to accompany Agatha anymore. Agatha also asked her mother why she hated her so much. Unexpectedly, the mother said that Agatha was born evil and she should have died at that time. This sentence must have deeply hurt Agatha. Just when everyone was at a loss for what to do, Jennifer suggested that they should leave right now. But Billy did not want to leave Agatha here. As a result, the mother possessed Agatha again. Seeing this, Alice reflexively wanted to chase the soul away. Unexpectedly, after that, Agatha also lost control and absorbed Alice's power. It was clear that Agatha's power absorption mechanism had been activated. In no time, Alice's body gradually withered. At that moment, Billy saw the Ouija board move naturally. After putting the letters together, it was the name Nicholas. Hearing this name, Agatha also stopped and the room echoed with the voice of a child calling her mother. Upon seeing this, Billy immediately said goodbye to the ghost according to the rules. This was the end of the spiritual game. After that, a door appeared, but at this moment, Alice was dead. When Agatha wanted to go over to check, she was mercilessly scolded by Billy. At the moment, Agatha could not explain and was also very sad about this. Returning to the path of witchcraft, Agatha tried to exploit Alice's magic. At this time, Billy also rushed out to scold her. Agatha explained that she really could not control this ability. Of course, Billy just thought that Agatha was lying. Billy said that if this is what it means to be a witch, and Agatha did not hesitate to kill people to achieve her goals, then Agatha would rather not be a witch. After hearing this, Agatha smiled strangely. Then, she whispered in Billy's ear and asked him if this was really so. Agatha even said that Billy looked very much like her mother. It turned out that at this time, Agatha already knew Billy's identity. As soon as she was not paying attention, Billy used magic to control Lilia and Jennifer. They threw Agatha into the mud by the side of the road. Not only that, Billy also threw the other two down. Billy's current appearance had changed. On his head was a crown in Wanda's style, so he had also revealed his true identity. Going back 3 years, the boy at that time was not Billy, but a Jewish boy named William. That day was his coming-of-age ceremony. William had a great time at the family party, but during the break, he accidentally saw a fortune-telling tent nearby. Driven by curiosity, William wanted to predict his future, and the fortune-teller there was Lilia. It turned out that their fates had been destined to be tied together since 3 years ago. Lilia looked at William's palm, and suddenly her fortune-telling ability was activated. The prophecy said that William's bloodline would split into two. Big changes would happen in the future. Obviously, William was a little scared by this prediction and quickly left. After William left, Lilia drew a symbol on a piece of wood and put it in William's forgotten coat pocket. But Lilia immediately forgot about everything that happened before. Lilia also asked someone else to return the coat to William. At the same time, everyone suddenly received news that something strange had happened in the town of Westview. Therefore, everyone at the scene had to evacuate immediately. On the way home, William found a piece of wood in his pocket. In addition, the town of Westview was covered by a giant red forest. This scene was when Wanda was fighting with the Agatha inside. However, the mother who was driving was distracted by the view. As a result, William's family got into a serious accident. William's parents were fine, except for him. Just then, the siren sounded, so his parents ran out to call for help. But at this time, William had no signs of life. At that moment, Wanda said goodbye to her two sons. Then William suddenly woke up and shouted Tommy's name because Wanda's son Billy had entered William's body. The name Tommy was Billy's twin brother. At this time, the police also came here, and one of the two police officers was Alice. In the ambulance, Billy found everything around him strange, especially when he saw his own image in the glass. Billy finally realized that he had possessed someone else's body. After that, Billy quickly recovered in the hospital, pretending that he had lost all his memories. Billy could feel the sadness of William's parents. In order to prevent the two of them from continuing to suffer, Billy decided that from now on, he would play the role of William well. Just like that, 3 years had passed. Now, Billy had completely integrated into his new life, and he also had a boyfriend named Eddie. At this time, Billy also talked about his true self. Unexpectedly, Eddie accepted everything so quickly, but Eddie was also curious if the other party was not William, then who could it be? At this time, Billy was also a little confused about his identity. He could only bring Eddie into the room to see all the information he had collected collected over the past few years. Billy speculated that the red dome that appeared 3 years ago was an accident. Then, they observed the scene that was recorded that day, with ancient runes appearing above. It meant that it might be related to magic. But because the people of Westview Town don't want to talk about what happened that year, or maybe the government has issued a ban. To find out the truth, Billy finds a mysterious insider to get information. The two go to an underground parking lot. This person is named Boner. Boner reveals that Wanda is dead, and Vision, Wanda's husband, was also chopped into many pieces. But when Boner mentions that Wanda has 2 sons, Billy finally confirms that he is Billy, Wanda's son. Later, Billy also learns that Agatha is still manipulating a girl, and Agatha was sealed in Westview by Wanda. After returning home, Billy begins to search for information about Agatha. From there, he learns everything Agatha has done, and in the data, he also learns about the path of witchcraft. Therefore, Billy decides to conquer it with the purpose of finding his missing brother Tommy. So Billy sets off for Westview. On the way, Billy also texts Eddie, and Eddie calls Billy a black heart. It turns out that the witch element that the group was looking for earlier was Billy, not Vidal. In town, Billy quickly found Agatha. At that time, she was still trapped under Wanda's spell, thinking that she was a police detective. To break the curse, Billy needed to find one of Agatha's personal belongings, so he sneaked into the house to steal the pendant. As a result, Agatha discovered and chased him. The car that Billy accidentally collided with was Hart. While being interrogated by Agatha, Billy took the opportunity to break the curse for her. By the time they got out, Agatha had returned to normal. After that, it was the journey of the two to the path of witchcraft. Back to the present, Agatha had crawled back out of the mud. Billy had also destroyed the piece of wood Lilia had given him. When he saw that Agatha was fine, he was very curious as to how Agatha could know his identity. The answer was that Billy's personality was very similar to Wanda's. Until she saw Billy use magic, her guess was correct. However, Agatha did not blame Billy for what he did to her, and even praised Billy for doing the right thing. As for Jennifer and Lilia, who were also thrown into the mud, Agatha did not feel sad at all. Afterwards, Agatha also invited Billy to continue his journey as a witch. In order to find his twin brother, Billy could only temporarily agree to accompany Agatha. Not long after, a castle appeared in front of the two. As soon as they entered, they put on the classic appearance from the Western witch story. Agatha was the evil green witch, while Billy was the dark fairy Maleficent. Soon, the two discovered the tarot cards in the middle of the room. Billy said that he knew a little about tarot cards, so he immediately picked them up. Unexpectedly, this was the challenge with the hourglass counting down. Immediately, the two had to become serious. Billy predicted about Agatha with the first card being a carriage, but Billy was not a prophet, so his explanation was very amateurish. Having no choice, he could only randomly stuff the cards into the slot on the table. But unexpectedly, a sword was stuck down beside the two of them. Only then did they discover that there were many sharp swords hanging from the ceiling. Obviously, if the two of them couldn't arrange them correctly, they would fall down one after another. So Billy flipped the second card, but the arrangement was still wrong. Agatha couldn't sit still anymore, so she immediately switched roles. Unexpectedly, the result wasn't any better, and a sword even fell right on Billy's chair. Billy immediately became angry, thinking that Agatha was making a mess. But at this moment, all the cards were filled into the wrong slots, causing the ceiling to gradually fall down. At this moment, Lilia had also woken up from an illusion. Currently, she and Jennifer were in a cave. However, Lilia didn't have any impression at all. Obviously, her consciousness had been lost for a few moments, but now they also know that Billy is Wanda's son. While talking, Lilia's consciousness traveled to the second challenge. She was talking to Alice and warning her not to rescue Agatha in the future. As soon as she finished speaking, Lilia jumped to the first challenge. In her confusion, her consciousness traveled back to her hometown hundreds of years ago. Sitting opposite was Lilia's teacher. This was also the old corpse that Lilia saw in her first hallucination. The conversation took place when Lilia was still a girl. It was also the image that appeared in the initial challenge hallucination. In no time, Lilia had returned to her current body. When she started today's lesson, her consciousness had traveled through time, entering the body inside the tunnel. Seeing Lilia's current appearance, Jennifer was clearly curious. Only now did Lilia reveal her secret. It turned out that she had lived her life in an orderly manner. She had been aware of her own timeline since she was a child, but recently, her out-of-body state had become more and more frequent. This meant that they were almost at the end of the journey. As soon as she finished speaking, Lilia's consciousness suddenly traveled to the castle in the fourth trial, and at this moment, she and Jennifer had transformed into Snow White and the Witch. The most important thing now was to pass this trial. Unexpectedly, many swords fell down at the same time. Just as Lilia was thinking about how to handle this, her consciousness shifted randomly. With an unconscious scream, she returned to the front of the teacher. Here, Lilia asked the teacher how to stop the time travel. The teacher's answer was not to try to control it. As a result, as soon as she finished speaking, Lilia's consciousness returned to the time when she and Jennifer were in the tunnel. Here, Lilia accidentally saw Billy's notebook full. Then, the two of them heard Agatha's voice again, and in front of them was a bookshelf. That was how the two of them arrived at this trial. Since she had been conscious of it, Lilia quickly stepped in to arrange the cards. After knowing that this was a challenge challenge for Billy, Lilia asked him to ask a question, and it had to be the most important question in his life. When Billy asked if he was William or Billy, the ceiling stopped. At this time, Lilia also explained that the 6 grooves on the table corresponded to the 6 challenges. After speaking, Lilia began to tell Billy's fortune. The first card representing Billy's identity was drawn as Magician. It represented Billy's limitless potential with the ability to turn his goals into reality. But as soon as putting it down, a sword fell down. Next, the second card, but the result was the same. The third card, the sword also fell down, but at this time, Lilia's consciousness traveled again. Back hundreds of years ago, she received a hint from her teacher. When she returned, Lilia knew where she went wrong. It turned out that the traveler was not Billy but herself, so Lilia began to embark on the biggest tarot reading of her life. The first card placed down did not have any swords falling. However, the ceiling continued to move. Then came the second card, then the third. At this point, time was almost up, but Lilia remained calm on the chair, completing her challenge. Until the last card was put into the slot, the ceiling moved up again. An exit also appeared immediately. At this point, Lilia also revealed to everyone that Vidal was the representative of Grim Reaper. Agatha, who knew the truth from before, also admitted it. Knowing that the 7 Salem witches were also chasing them, they needed to leave quickly. Before leaving, Lilia also said that Agatha was a coward. At the same time, she also gave the book back to Billy. When everyone had left, Lilia closed the door to face the 7 Salem witches herself. Lilia warned them not to leave after completing the challenge, or they would meet with misfortune. After saying that, she turned the pyramid card upside down. The entire space was immediately turned upside down. The 7 Salem witches fell from the ceiling and all died, and Lilia finally let go of the stone table, accepting her fate. At this moment, her consciousness had returned to 400 years ago. A smile also appeared on her lips because she no longer felt fear. Returning to Alice, she was feeling very confused because Vidal was wearing black clothes beside her. It turned out that she was here to take Alice away. Hearing this, Alice realized that Vidal was the Grim Reaper, and she had already become a dried corpse. Alice was extremely depressed because her life was too short. Moreover, her family's curse had just been broken. Alice thought that she would have a good life in the future. However, Vidal woke Alice up with just one word. Vidal said that if Alice was a guardian witch, dying to protect others would be a worthy death. After hearing this, Alice finally accepted her own death. Although she was a bit reluctant, she still followed Vidal. And on the other side, Jennifer and Billy were grieving over Lilia's death. But Agatha seemed scared and wanted to avoid something. It didn't take long for Vidal to appear before Agatha. At this time, Agatha also revealed the deal between the two of them. That was to let Vidal take away the souls of the witches. But at this time, Vidal also realized Billy's true identity. For a Grim Reaper like Vidal, this was a violation of the laws of nature. She was very upset that Billy had a second chance at life. On the other side, Jennifer also found out that Vidal was the original Green Witch, and Jennifer also knew that Vidal was also the incarnation of the Grim Reaper. Speaking of this, the two suddenly thought of Agatha and stood up to find her. At this time, Agatha was negotiating a new deal with Vidal. It turned out that Vidal couldn't let Billy's wish come true because he would have the opportunity to use the same method on himself to revive his brother Tommy. Even now, killing Billy would make him reincarnate in another body, so if they really wanted to capture Billy, they had to let him surrender to death. Agatha accepted the deal without thinking twice, and Agatha's condition was that after she got Billy, Vidal would never chase her again. Only when Agatha died of natural causes would she have permission to appear. Although she felt sad, Vidal still accepted the condition. After that, she used the space-cutting knife to disappear on the road. Not long after, the remaining 3 people met. While talking, Agatha suddenly slipped and fell. At that time, everyone discovered that this was their starting point. This moment made everyone's thoughts chaotic. At the same time, they wondered if the so-called endpoint was really here. Agatha was very angry because her magic had not recovered yet. Billy spoke up and said that they took off their shoes when entering the road to respect the witches, but now they were being deceived, so he didn't want to respect them anymore. So Billy decided to put on his shoes and was immediately teleported into a sleeping bag. Outside was a room that looked like a morgue. Immediately after, Agatha and Jennifer also teleported in one after another. Obviously, this was their next challenge. Agatha understood the request at a glance. It was to create life in a place without water or soil. The lights on the ceiling turned off one after another, which was the countdown timer. At this time, Jennifer wanted to act like Lilia to protect Agatha and Billy, but hearing that, Agatha immediately scoffed because Jennifer didn't even have magic, so who could she protect? However, Billy sided with Jennifer because when he didn't use magic, he was also willing to save everyone. While Billy and Agatha were arguing, Jennifer accidentally discovered that it was Agatha who had taken away her magic. While Agatha was making excuses, Jennifer rushed forward and tied Agatha's hands. Then Jennifer began to perform the ritual to break the curse. After Jennifer repeated the spell over and over again, it really worked. Feeling the magic again after 100 years like that made Jennifer so happy that she cried. But right after that, she disappeared right in front of the 2 people. This scene made Billy extremely confused. Agatha explained that Jennifer had achieved her wish and had escaped the path of witchcraft. Agatha also said that she wanted to get her magic back, and as long as Billy gave it to her, everything would be over. over, but he was clearly not stupid and called her a liar. However, Agatha was not angry at all. She even affirmed that she would help Billy find Tommy. At first, Billy was a bit hesitant, but with Agatha's encouragement, he finally sat down and began to rely on Agatha's guidance to activate the power. Not long after, Billy seemed to have found Tommy. Then, Agatha asked Billy to transfer his brother's soul into a new corpse. That corpse was from a boy who was pushed into the swimming pool by a bully. Although he hesitated a bit, Tommy's soul eventually entered the drowning boy, and Billy had also fulfilled his wish and had escaped the path of witchcraft. At this time, Agatha showed an extremely satisfied face because she had sacrificed herself to help Billy fulfill his dream. Thinking that she would also die here, Agatha opened the badge she had picked up at first, and the hair hidden inside was her son's. But suddenly, Agatha discovered that there was a dandelion on the top of the hair. The floor had cracked when Billy disappeared from here, so Agatha immediately realized her hope. She had planted the seed with her tears and buried it in the ground. Relying on the last faint light, the seed had truly taken root, sprouted, and bloomed. Immediately after, all the lights came back on. The ceiling also began to crack as if the room was collapsing. Agatha ran up the stairs quickly, pushing the door open and successfully escaping. The exit was her backyard. But at this moment, the wind was very strong on the ground and the surroundings were dyed green. Vidal's eerie laughter echoed from the rooftop. Vidal congratulated Agatha on completing her journey as a witch. It was just that Agatha's magic had not yet recovered. At this moment, Vidal blamed Agatha for not keeping her promise, so she came here to take Agatha's soul. The noise attracted the townspeople. When she saw this, Agatha wanted to perform a ritual to expel Vidal, but Vidal said that she was dead, so the ritual would not be effective. She even destroyed the magic circle that Agatha had just drawn. Fortunately for Agatha, she avoided a fatal blow, but then a vine cut Agatha's leg, causing her to fall. Agatha wanted to use water magic to heal her wound, but was immediately tied up by Vidal. But at this moment, a huge amount of energy suddenly appeared around her. Then, Vidal was also thrown aside. It turned out that Billy had come to rescue Agatha with a completely new appearance. Billy also knew that he was no match for the god of death. However, he still decided to trust Agatha once more. After saying that, he launched an attack on Agatha so that she could drain all of his power. Immediately, she escaped the vine's bondage and floated in the air. As Billy grew weaker, Agatha also regained her appearance. Seeing that Billy was about to run out of power, Agatha stopped the process to save him. When Vidal appeared, it meant that only one of Agatha and Billy could survive. Seeing this, Agatha temporarily pushed Billy away first. Through the frosted glass, he could feel the shocking battle outside. But unfortunately, even though Agatha had regained her strength, she was still no match for Vidal. Seeing this, Billy used his last bit of strength to push Vidal away. At this moment, Agatha looked at Billy and realized that they could not fight Vidal. If one person had to die, she would choose herself. Billy was very moved when he saw this. While both of them were immersed in their emotions, Vidal appeared again. Billy quickly expressed his willingness to sacrifice himself in exchange for Agatha's life. Unexpectedly, as soon as Billy finished speaking, Agatha suddenly stood up and told Vidal to take Billy away. Thus, the promise between the two would be fulfilled. Billy could not have expected Agatha to do so. He was only angry because Agatha's true feelings just now were all lies. But just as Agatha was about to leave, Billy suddenly used his mind-reading skills to send her a message. Because Agatha was using Billy's magic, they were able to communicate like this. Billy's question was the reason for Agatha's son's death. Hearing this question, Agatha had to stop and think. After thinking for a while, Agatha immediately turned back to kiss Vidal, and this action was accepting death. After walking in this world for hundreds of years, Agatha's life finally ended. Her entire body began to gradually transform into nature, and this could also be the last gift that the Grim Reaper gave to her beloved. After that, Billy picked up Agatha's pendant and left at Vidal's urging. When Billy went down the street, the people of Westview had gathered around. Therefore, he put on his hat to avoid everyone's eyes. This scene was very similar to his mother Wanda. Billy returns to his room, suddenly realizing something is wrong. First, there is the poster of Alice's mother's concert. Then there is the shadow of the evil witch in green. Billy suddenly remembered that Agatha had said that the witch's path did not exist. Then there was the tree stump model, similar to the witch's path. This reminded Billy of the first time he entered it. Obviously, everything here was just as he imagined. The seaside painting on the wall was the same as the seaside in the first challenge. After all, everything was exactly like this. Billy realized that the witch's path had never existed from the beginning. From beginning to end, it was all Billy's subconscious. And all this was just to prove that Billy was a witch master. But he was also like his mother, causing irreparable damage. Suddenly, Agatha's familiar laughter appeared in the room. When Billy turned back, he was extremely shocked. Time went back hundreds of years. In 1750, Agatha walked hard in the forest with a pregnant belly. Because of the pain of not being able to give birth, Vidal appeared, so Agatha began to beg her to help her child. Nicholas was destined to die at that time, but because Vidal loved Agatha, she made an exception. Not long after, a boy was born, but who the father of the child was, no one knew. While wandering around with Nicholas, Agatha also killed the good witches she met along the way. When Nicholas grew up, he asked his mother why she kept hunting witches. Agatha explained that if she didn't do it, they would be the ones killed. Apparently, Agatha rebelled against the 7 witches of Salem, making her a public enemy of witches. And so from then on, to protect herself, Agatha could only continue to hunt witches. But one day, Nicholas got tired of hunting witches. However, Agatha was not angry. Instead, she still hugged her son and slept in the forest. But that was the last day Agatha was with her child, because that night, Vidal took Nicholas' soul. The next day, Agatha was in a state of despair. After burying Nicholas, Agatha put her son's hair into the pendant. That day, a strange woman asked Agatha if she knew the path of witchcraft. It was said that if she completed the challenge there, any wish could come true. Seeing this, Agatha suddenly became interested, so she started to form a group of witches. After that, Agatha's witchcraft trap path was officially upgraded. Every time she deceived a group of witches to form a witches' coven, they would sing a song together. Those who were not qualified to be witches would be attacked by her and took all their power. Agatha had used this method for hundreds of years to trap and kill countless witches. Up to now, Agatha also used this trick, but this time, the real path of witchcraft appeared. And when everyone entered, Agatha also realized that Billy's identity was not simple. Back to the present, Billy met Agatha's spirit again. Seeing Billy again, Agatha was also very emotional. The reason Agatha could stay in the world seemed to be the same as her mother. At this time, Billy also said that the witch path was created by him, but it was clear that Agatha also knew the truth. This truth made Billy regret the dead people, but Agatha said that Alice died because of her, Lilia was because of her choice, and Hart was because of some accidents. Agatha also said that she could still save one person. It turned out to be Jennifer, crawling out of a field of grass. She also smiled happily and flew into the air. After that, Billy decided to return to Agatha's house. He was surprised to find that the gate to the witch path was still there. Immediately, Agatha also came. She said that as long as Billy returned the pendant to her, she would go somewhere else. But Billy didn't care and took out the notebook and the pendant to chant. At this time, Agatha realized that it was an expulsion curse. Billy would exorcise Agatha's soul because he felt that Agatha was trapped in this world. There must be a bigger conspiracy. Despite Agatha's pleas, Billy continued to do it. Finally, Agatha told the truth. The reason she didn't want to go to hell was because she was afraid of seeing her son. After knocking off the pendant, she put it around her neck. At this time, Billy also felt Agatha's love for her son, so she stayed with Billy as a magic instructor. After that, Billy closed the witch's path. The names of the 3 victims were also engraved on the floor. The first step for the 2 was to find the resurrected Tommy. Above is the entire content of the movie. Thank you everyone for watching. Goodbye and see you in the next videos. Bye.